We speak student.
Power in literature. Symbols. A la Shmoop. All right, and we're rolling. Hi from Shmoop Global Headquarters here in Mountain View, California. This video is about helping you understand literature from a unique perspective. You have to understand some basic concepts: symbols, setting, and themes, among other things. And we're here talking with Deb Tenen, who's our chief guru in literary analysis and all things creative here at Shmoop. So, Deb, why don't we start with the key concept here. What is a symbol?
Okay, in the most basic sense, a symbol is a tangible or concrete object that represents an abstract idea. That's it. The symbol can be an actual object, like say you wear your grandmother's necklace that she gave you. She passed away, you wear the necklace. The necklace is a necklace, but it symbolizes your love for your grandmother. It can also be a person. A person can be a symbol of, hope. If someone has had a really hard life and they've struggled through a lot, you look up to that person is then a symbol for hope and perseverance in your life. So those are symbols in our everyday lives. They're really all around us.
Why do authors use symbols?
Because symbols are all around us every day in our lives, a lot of them will happen accidentally. A writer will just write something that they think of as a normal occurrence in their everyday life, and then a reader will read into it as a symbol because for that specific reader, it means something more powerful than the author intended it. But authors will also intentionally use symbols. That's so that they can be a little more subtle. In the example of The Great Gatsby, which is has one of the most famous symbols in all of literature, that green light, you have Gatsby standing at the edge of the dock looking out, and he has his hands outstretched. Nick just says, Gatsby had his hands outstretched toward the green light across the water.
Green typically is the color of money, and so it's very easy to almost purposely have, quote, misled us a little bit so that we would go with a materialistic interpretation. Is that?
Yeah, and it's actually interesting, just to kind of rewind a little bit, when Great Gatsby came out, it was actually just around the time that stoplights became a thing. So the green light is actually a really complicated one because it does represent both the future and the past. We have Gatsby, looking across and basically being stuck in the past, this dream of Daisy that he'll never get, but it's also about, moving toward the future. It could go either way, and it's up to the reader to decide which it means, or maybe it means both.
Give us one other symbol, and then let's move on to kind of the actual implementation of them. And this way it'll give us a pattern.
Another symbol in a book that a lot of you might have read is the mockingbird in To Kill a Mockingbird, the titular character. We never actually really see a specific mockingbird in the book, but it comes up again and again in small places, and we think of it most when Atticus basically tells his kids, don't kill the mockingbird. It's basically that that mockingbirds are these innocent birds. They're not doing anything wrong, so we wouldn't kill one. The same kind of goes, then we extend it to like Boo Radley, like don't bug him, like don't, he's just an innocent guy, and we're supposed to kind of slowly realize that throughout the book that he too is a mockingbird. And then of course Tom Robinson is another mockingbird, this kind of innocent guy who he's handicapped, and we think of him as kind of this innocent guy who can't really defend himself, and so he's another mockingbird, and he actually does get shot.
Where is there an overuse of symbols?
One poor use of symbolism can be when a writer forgets that the symbol is also the object that it is. For example, we have an apple as a symbol of original sin, whatever else you want to associate with that. We think of, all the fairy tales where the apple is poisoned, we think of Adam and Eve, etc. But the apple's also an apple. It's not just a symbol of something. So writers, bad writers, or writers who haven't learned this, will kind of pull symbols and be like, oh, I can have this object represent this abstract idea, but then they forget that the object is also the object, and it needs to serve a purpose in the story. If it doesn't make sense in context to have that specific object, then the symbol kind of just becomes a little icky.
How do people recognize symbols?
The idea is that readers pull out the symbolism themselves. So one reader might see the apple as just an apple, but another who has experience reading a lot of biblical literature, or just grew up on fairy tales, they're going to read different things into it. Different cultures will also read different symbols in new ways. So a writer is writing to a very specific group of people, but then if someone from a different culture comes along and reads it, then they might pull something completely different from it.
Got it. Understood. What is a symbol?
Why do authors use symbols? Where is there an overuse of symbols? How do people recognize symbols?